Hello, everyone. Today, me and my colleague Nan will discuss Chapter 11, which is New Directions for the New Media. This chapter briefly looks at three examples: audiovisual translation studies, localization and globalization, for-the-space translation studies. I will start it with audiovisual translation studies. Early days, the virgin area of research. Initially, audiovisual translation was more or less overlooked by translation theory. Katharina Ress had included what she termed an audiomedial text type, but this was not developed, and indeed her definition seemed to be or to refer more to fields such as advertising rather than film and documentary translation. In James Hall's map, there is a category of medium restricted theories, but no specific mention of audiovisual at all. Later, Snell Hornby links films to literary translation in her integrated theory. So, we note here that audiovisual translation, like other subjects, did not become whispered since its inception, and it is also passed through many stages, and also many scholars conducted study on it, and it was discussed by many researchers, like Dirk de la Bastida. He justified in saying that the field was still a virgin area of research at the time of his groundbreaking article, Translation and Mass Communication, Film and TV Translation as Evidence of Cultural Dynamics. De la Bastida constantly compares film translation to other forms of translation, such as theatrical performance. Okay, here, for example, let's say, or let's make differentiated between films and other types of translation, for example, like drama. Film, once it's recorded, is distributed and replayed to and by different audience, whereas drama is constituted slightly differently on each occasion it is performed. There are also very particular constraints that normally govern the subtitling of film, namely the coexistence of the sound channel and the vision channel, which restricts the procedure open to the translator. So, people, for example, read slower than they can hear. Okay, so when adapting the text, it is important to ensure viewers can read everything in time. This means we have to adapt the text, keeping it brief while maintaining the clarity and the intended meaning. So there is a constricting that constraints that restricts the translators when he go to subtitle a film. Let me give you an example. Translating from English into Spanish can expand the text length by 20 to 25%, while translating into Swedish, this can be up to 35%. So, it is important to be very precise while maintaining the meaning of the original text. The name and nature of the field. Gottlieb describes interlingual subtitling as a form of diagonal translation. Not only is the source language rendered as a target language, but speech is rendered by written text. In contrast to the more conventional horizontal transfer that occurs in interpreting speech by speech or in interlingual translation written text by written text. So, Gottlieb considers subtitling to be intersemiotics. That's to say, the written text can be translated into music, film, or painting. So, it is the interpretation of verbal signs by means of signs of nonverbal sign system. Subtitling. Subtitling is the process of adding text to any audiovisual media to express the message that is being spoken. Essentially, subtitles are a written abridgments of the spoken audio. They allow people to read and understand what is being said, even if they don't understand the language of the speaker. For example, if we have a film that produced in English, we can subtitle it into Arabic, so Arabic audience can understand what is going on or can understand the idea of the film. So it's is the way to, for example, deliver the meaning of this product to another audience that does not speak English, for example. Gamber discussed the competing terms audiovisual translation, screen translation, and multimedia translation. All of these terms have the same core or the same essence, which is related to audiovisual translation. Different types of audiovisual activity. Okay, here we have different type of audiovisual activity. First of it, interlingual subtitling. This kind occur between two different languages. For example, when we subtitle film from English into Arabic, and it is in various forms for the cinema and video and DVD. Bilingual subtitling. This one occurs into two different languages. For example, when we subtitle a film from English into French and into German. Intralingual subtitling for the hard of hearing, which is subtitling for deaf and hard of hearing, SDH. This kind consists of textual representation of dialogue placed at the bottom of the screen. But in addition to this or to the dialogue, subtitles take in consideration character identification. For example, assigning colors to different characters, placing text closer to the character speaking, or using labels, for example, to identify characters. Or we can make a description of the sounds and music relevant to the plot or to the irony or the sections, for example. Dedubbing, which covers lip sync, where the source language voice track is replaced by a target language voice track. Here, in this process, we did not put, for example, a dialogue at the bottom of the screen. We replaced the sounds of the actors. For example, the dubbed version of Timon and Pumbaa, we have it in the Egyptian dialect, whereas the source one or the original film, it's in English, but we have it in the Egyptian dialect nowadays. So it is just by replacing the voices of the actress. Voiceover, used mainly for documentary or interview. This kind of audiovisual activity, it's a production technique where an off-camera actor or a person record dialogue for use in, for example, TV shows or documentary or commercial. Subtitling, it is subtitles which are projected above the stage or on the seat backs at the opera or theater, or even in the choral work, okay? The audio description, a mainly intralingual audio commentary on the action on the stage or a film, etc., for visually impaired. Here we have some photos of the audiovisual activities. We have subtitling, voiceover, audio description for the visual impaired, and subtitle. Lindy and Key notes the differences between interlingual subtitling and written translation, notably the space and time constraints image on the screen. So it is obviously there is a difference between the subtitling, okay, the interlingual subtitling and the written translation in terms of space, time constraints, as well as the image on the screen. Okay, let's take these examples and as an example of time constraints. The first example consists of 43 characters, while the second example consists of 35 characters. But the two examples have the same idea and the same meaning, but in the second one, we shorten the sentence while we maintaining the meaning to ensure or to save time. Because when you subtitle it, your subtitles should appear when the speaker start talking and stop appearing soon after the speaker stop in order to maintain the time factor. And there is many ways to do so, like for example, changing grammatical structure as we did in these two examples, or merging two sentences into one, or even using antonyms to create shorter sentences. The linguistics and prescriptive nature of subtitling research. These and Ramble sum up what they term subtitling guidelines as follows. Grammar and lexical items tend to be simplified and cleaned up. Interactional features and intonation are only maintained to some extent. So here we have subtitling guidelines to make sure we will deliver the meaning, but in a specific time and specific space. And all of these are guidelines for translators when he wants to make a subtitle for a film or any work. Norms of audiovisual translation. This section will look at a sample of theoretical frameworks for the study of audiovisual translation and employed by Kara Mitrogolo. So this researcher or this scholar emphasized the need to consider the range of human agents involved in the process, as well as the catalytic role of the audience and the importance of differentiating between different film types and genres. And these elements which covers the human agents. The human agents include for example, the adapters, the dubbing director, the sound technicals, video experts, and proofreaders. The product, which is the target text, the subtitled target text, the recipients, the addressees and customers, as well as the audience. In other words, it is the audience. The mood, characteristics of audiovisual translation. So this work might be fiction, might be technicals, might be literary, and etc. The institutions include critics, distributors, TV channels, etc., which participate in the preparation and making of the film. The market, cinemas, film clubs, which decided the screening of the source of the target text subtitled. And this is the end. I hope you benefit from what I explained in this chapter, and thank you.